Hello viewers, welcome again to our favorite family program, The Living Room, right here on Equa TV. My name is Amaka Ocheke and I'm right here with, you know who? Professor Teresa Madu, my auntie and mentor. So we've been talking the last few weeks about entrepreneurial ventures, what it means to be an entrepreneur, how we can go about it, how we are supposed to solve problems. And we realized that one of the major issues in getting this going is funding. And so today we've decided to talk about funding your business. So when you've come up with what you want to do, how do we go about funding? So I think we'll start with, why is funding really important? Because we're Christians, so we walk by faith. God does miracles, He does wonders, so He divides the Red Sea. So do we as Christians really need to talk about funding, or we just expect God to work things out?
I think funding is important because it's probably one of the most overlooked part of the business venture. Sometimes people have not sat down and actually costed the business. Everything in terms of fixed costs, your variable costs, and the things that you must keep turning around until you make a profit. So presumably they cost the business until it is launched, but they don't take care of how that business will go and how they will live off of the business and how they will make this business a going concern. And then they begin to have headaches.
Okay. So before we go into funding proper, I'd like you to break it down, what these costs are, because people may be listening and like, what is she talking about? It's not just to make the business run.
No.
So what are those costs that people have to plan for in running a business? Because sometimes, for example, I want to start a laundry service. Maybe my thought will just be that all I need is a washing machine, an ironing board, and an iron, and I'm good to go. So
the very first thing, but let me go back a little and talk about what the Bible says about planning. You remember how the Bible tells us that, look, who of you going to war won't first of all look at what you have and see whether you have enough soldiers to take on that other army? Or who of you going to build a house does not sit first of all and cost what it will take to build that building? Otherwise people will say this person started and didn't finish well. So that's a biblical basis for sitting down and thinking through your business from the start to the end. Let me even take the illustration you just gave about laundry services. When you are trying to establish a laundry services business, it's not about you. It's about who has the money and who is going to patronize you. So number one, who are your target customers? Why will I take money and give to you to do laundry for me? Until I know the motivation for people wanting to take their money and give me for the kind of laundry services, it will determine where I will locate that laundry service. Is it going to
so I know the kind of people who would want laundry service. Young people who are busy at work, who do not have time to do laundry. So upwardly mobile, single young people mostly, I think.
So can you see, you must think about a location where
you find those kind of people.
No, where you will situate that business. But in order to also get to these people, you might have to be mobile and go collecting from them and returning to them.
Oh.
So can you see that we're not just talking about the machine, we're talking about what it will cost to go to them to collect. Maybe sometimes you have to make 2 visits, and this runs into your cost. If you're taking boat and you don't have a car, if you have a car, it's also supposed to be costed in your business, because if you didn't use your car, you would have had to buy a car or have to rent a car or have to rent transportation to get to that. But you will sit down and talk about the cost of marketing to these people, the data you use to reach to them, putting it on Instagram.
I think people don't cost that.
It's all part of it. So can you see that we say the problem with funding is not even the money itself. It's sitting down and articulating everything that you need, from things that are fixed that you can't change, like your machine, your iron, you can't change that. But rent changes annually. Utilities go with it. Transportation goes with it. Communication goes with it. And when you net out all the costs, it affects the price that you charge for your... Because if you're not charging a price that people want to pay for the service that they are getting, you'll be running at a loss. Almost every business you do, we must know the unit cost of delivering either that service or that business or that product. It is only when we know what the unit cost is that we know whether we're operating profitably or we're not. But this is the back end that comes back and informs how much outlay you will need. So back to our laundry business. Can you see, I will need to know the cost of a machine, whether it's a second hand or of iron. And the one that people most often do not cost is I don't want to use a negative word. People say the man hours, but the time I commit to doing this. If I'm committing my time as a professor, I'm not going to take 2,000 naira per hour. I'm going to take like 20,000 naira per hour. So you see, that is the charge I will charge for my for my services.
Time and your service.
It is only when we know this cost outlay that we begin to say, okay, this is the money outlay. Where is this money coming from? If I'm going to invest this money, how am I going to refund where the money has come out from? In the business that I'm in, you need to know that there are some assets that you cannot dispose of, like buildings, equipment. Once you have invested in those things, land and equipment, they are not things that you are going to turn over quickly. So you know that they are fixed costs. But what are the variable costs day by day? You buy chicks, you buy feed, you buy services until you are able to break even and begin to have a profit. And once the profit comes, usually I have a way of returning where the money has come from.
Okay. So even when we're talking about profit, you need to factor in all the things you have invested and remove the cost of those things before you say you have made profit.
Of course.
Because I think, like, from what you have said, people look at a business and tell you that they are making profit, the business is doing very well. Then when you start asking questions, what of your transportation, what of your phone bills, what of fuel, what of... Say, oh, I didn't... So how are you making profit?
And then they have not documented it.
Yeah.
I once had a young man who brought a business idea and who wanted to use his father's inheritance. Actually, I looked at that business proposal 2 times and it wasn't making sense because, number one, it didn't fit our context. He was looking at how Red Gear does in UK, where they run race cars, who wins, and then the money comes from it. And then he now told me that he needed a phone that cost 120,000. This was in 2017. He needed a phone that cost 120,000 to be able to do this business. And of course, it was going to be from that inheritance. When I looked at the outlay, it took like 1.5 million. But we came today to talk about sources of funding, remember? So this is just a background to...
So that you know why you need funding and plan appropriately for it. Okay.
But you remember we had mentioned that many people don't have a savings culture. A lot of money comes into their hand, but they burn it up. They burn it up and they do not save towards the things that are important for them.
Okay. So I think all you've said now, one of the major things for me that has come out is that anybody who wants to do a business, you have to learn how to write. you have to learn how to write and document. And you can't work just to say it's in my head, it's in my head. There must be pen, there must be paper, a book that you've written. We can see your plan, we can see what your outlay should look like, and before we talk of starting and looking for funding. Okay, so we must learn to write.
Document.
Yeah, you must learn to write, document.
Give money until they see your business plan in paper, in ink and paper.
Yeah.
I just got selected into a cohort of intensive business writing, And in part, I think I got selected because I had a good executive summary of what my business is about. And the first thing is, why would somebody want to part with their money for my product?
Yeah.
Why should they jump 10 people and come to you? So it is only those people that can give you that money. So are you ready for us to talk about sources of funding?
Let's talk of funding. Having agreed that we must write and have documented what needs to be documented. Okay, so
I will start from simple to the most elaborate.
But I know you've already, from the last episode, you've already started talking about something. You had talked about people saving.
Yes.
I don't just wake up and say, people come and invest in my business when you have nothing.
But you know, the
saved.
very first law of even funding your business is multiplication. If I start with 1 naira today, can I work hard to make that 1 naira 2 naira? Can I work hard to make the 2 naira 4 naira? So by this simple law of multiplying the thing, which means that you start small and you keep growing, and patiently it gets to the size that you need without you're actually borrowing from outside people. So the very first source of funding is actually the business itself that you are doing. This business must continue to multiply one at a time. Even the scripture tells us that money that is made little by little is the one that lasts. That if you make it in a rush, it doesn't make sense to you.
So in other words, we must also be willing to start small and grow it. So this looking for all the time, feel you must start with a bang doesn't always.
I don't know why people always think that they must start big. They tell me, and people keep telling me that if I don't start big, it won't make an impact. Which also means that when you fail big. Because business is very, very risky. So number one, the law of multiplying. Just keep turning the things around until it makes... There's a discipline in turning these things around. And there's a learning as you go along. Because you now know how to do well. And then you become more resourceful. You become more creative. I think the second source of funding that we have talked about in passing that day was what we call bootstrapping. Bootstrapping means use your little resources and stretch them as much as you can. For example, why shouldn't I rent an equipment rather than buy equipment? I'm into my 5th year of improved technology in my enterprise. But the first year, I leased 2 of the equipment. It cost me 6,000 naira a week to rent it. But by the following year, because of hygiene and other things that are related to my business, it made more sense to buy rather than rent, because I can control the hygiene around the things. So when you are bootstrapping, you can consider leasing. You can consider barter, trade by barter. I'll do this for you, you do this for me. I'll do this for you, you do this for me.
Okay, that means you do cooperation with other business owners. Yeah.
It's money. Because when somebody comes and gives you the service that you would have paid for, they've given you money in kind.
Yeah.
The third way of also doing it is also to look at grants rather than loans. Over the last...
Okay, what's the difference? Let's...
a grant,
between a grant and
a grant is something that you qualify for, but you will not pay back.
Okay.
Sometimes governments want to encourage enterprises, so they say, here are grants, either for women or for youth or for that. One of those popular grants was during the Goodluck Jonathan, we had what we call the You Win. So you would submit a convincing proposal, they would fund it, but over the next 1 year, you were under a mentor who kept evaluating to see whether you had done well. And usually that money is disbursed in tranches. If you do very well at the first tranche, they give you, and then when they don't see evidence of commitment and productivity, you don't get any more. So can you see once again that if you have learned how to turn money around, you'll be very convincing to those people. So grants are different from loans. I would advise that you take a loan as a last resort. Sometimes people say, no, for the level of expansion, I need a loan. But for somebody to give you that loan, they must also see a capacity to repay. And many people take loans, particularly from government, and then they lack the discipline to follow through until they have paid back.
And as Christians, we must pay back whatever
what we owe.
Because the Bible says it's a wicked man that borrows and doesn't
pay back.
So if you don't pay back, you are wicked.
But there is this other government law through NESA that gives you some kind of moratorium for 1 year. You don't pay back until after 1 year.
Yeah.
Then you begin to pay, and I think you have up to 6 or 7 years to pay, and at reduced interest rate. So these are options to consider. So if you are looking out there, look at it. But a lot of international foundations and even some indigenous foundations are willing to give grants rather than loans in specific areas. Maybe you are doing something that has to do with food and agriculture. There are foundations that will fund that. If you are doing something in health, there are foundations that would fund that. So it is our duty to look out for funding. But don't keep looking for funding without doing the due process of multiplication, because for you to convince somebody to part with their money, they must see evidence that you've been able to manage what you have effectively.
Okay, so let me ask first of all, what of crowdfunding? What is that? What does that mean?
Crowdfunding is
I hear people.
Crowdfunding is when you get a lot of people to contribute 1 naira, 2 naira, 3 naira until we get the millions that we want.
Can you do that for a business? Or is
yes,
for,
but then it's also in exchange for equity.
Okay.
It means that they now have shares in your business. But you can see that you can do crowdfunding for all kinds of businesses. But certainly, it's also one way now that people are getting it. But there are things like angel investors. You know, there's this show on TV. It's almost like the equivalent of Shark Tank of US. That where you come, you develop the business, you convince the people, and then whoever the panelists are, they can look at you and they can become angel investors in you. Maybe they are not interested in equity people, but they think that you have a good idea. Here is my money. After you have achieved your thing, return my money to you.
Oh, nice.
That is angel investors. So you find people who are encouraging young people and just saying, okay, here, the Tony Elumelus are there. A lot of people have benefited from the Tony Elumelu Foundation. But there are other angel investors too.
Okay. So for these fundings or sources of funding, how can a person find this?
You see, so many people find and take the time to follow trends. They follow musicians, they follow entertainment, but they don't follow funding. You know, this is an age of information. All you need to do is bang, 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 bang.
Click it in Google.
What are the organizations willing to fund this? There will be liars, but there are true foundations. Like international organizations like MacArthur Foundation, for the longest time I've known in Nigeria, they have funded not just institutions, but small-scale enterprises too.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was only institutions they do.
USAID, UNIDO, they partner with Nigerian indigenous organizations, but they must first see evidence that you are doing well. Now, this kind of businesses, sometimes you find people create a website so that people can go to your website and see what you are and look at who the trustees of your organization is, whether you are reliable, whether you are known, and whether you can deliver.
Oh.
But Bank of Industry has been here. Bank of Industry will
I see about them, but I've been wondering whether they are really active in.
They are, but they are also serious. They are serious. They can give you equipment in loan and part grant. Even the Central Bank NESA program is part equipment and part finances. It shows that you must have a commitment of a quarter of what you are looking for.
So, as you said, those people are very serious. So that means they must look at what you are doing and be convinced.
In fact, they do site visits. They come, they look at your piece of property, the equipment, who you are. Like this one, this competition I told you I won. We have to give the names of our customers
really?
and their addresses. And then, well, what was the capacity that you were delivering? And what are the capacity you are looking to expand to? Wow. I don't want money. I want the capacity building, because I want them to expand my horizon in such a way that I'll go into more and more segmentation in my marketing.
That's interesting. So what I'm saying here is that, look, you can't decide you want to do a business, look for funding, and just be laid back about it. You must be out there, you must be very serious, you must have planned, you must have done your homework, and we must see you in action.
Can I say a word of caution? In the past, a lot of government loans have failed because people took the loan, they had a convincing proposal, but as soon as the money landed, they did other things than what they said they would do with the business. They built houses, they bought cars, they married wives.
But Christians shouldn't do that. Must be people of our word now. If a Christian says, so, Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Usually, the people who are writing, like when I see a convincing proposal, is where I see that you have also put yourself down and what you will be paid from the business. Because if you don't tell me what you are going to be paid from the business, then you are going to be...
Wow, yeah.
Sometimes people get a loan with all good intentions, but they have not separated their means of livelihood from the business itself. So they are likely going to be living on the business. Yes. And no business will survive that way. So the people say, why did I set up the business? Until the business survives, it can't pay you.
And it takes time for the business to survive.
It pays you. Like if you have 5 employees and you are the supervisor, you should be paid a supervisor's pay. Salary. And this is part of the costing
that you should have done when you were doing the...
month by month, you are going to be paying labor. Month by month, you are going to be paying labor.
This is a very serious thing, and that means a lot of thought and work, hard work needs to go into. Yes, I like that it's doable, but we need to really sit down and work. Okay.
So don't go and get a CBN loan of 7 million, then go and buy a second-hand car of 2 million. You have 5 million left. The 5 million will go around all the things.
But you didn't tell CBN that you wanted to buy a car.
You didn't tell them. It wasn't in the plan.
And the car is not for the business. So you need to do the business and grow capacity and all that in your business. A time would come where probably you may have enough money to buy cars, but that's from your profit.
That's from your profit, not from what is going to grow the
capital
business.
To run the business. Okay, so now they've found out how, or they've come up with thoughts. We've come up with thoughts on how we can fund our business, source of funding. So how do we go? Next step, what do we do?
Action. You apply it. You don't get people's money and then you don't. In fact, one of the ways that makes business funding organizations want to patronize you more is a sense of accountability. Do you keep records? Do you have accounts made up? And then from the profits, are you paying taxes? Are you known by the tax authorities? Are you known by the bank?
I think many people who are coming up with businesses, at least a few people I've spoken with, nobody's talking about tax, really.
Nobody's talking about tax.
Nobody talks about tax. It's part of their costs or what they will do, when the business starts going.
People hardly connect that it is government that has given you the permission to operate the business. In terms of location, in terms of business name, in terms of employee, and in terms of your being situated in a society where the people are taking their money and giving you. Government says, okay, you are servicing the people, all right, but now that there's a profit, you must pay a tax.
Okay, just let's pause there. So when a business starts, if you are not making profit, you are not to pay tax, right? Or must we? So how does the tax thing work?
Maybe the tax authorities know that when you come into existence, year 1, year 2, year 3, they give you a moratorium. They are hoping that you will stabilize. If your business is not profitable, you will liquidate. You will go out of business. You won't be in existence. So why are you carrying a signboard if you are not doing well?
Okay. So the assumption is, having survived this long, you must
You are
be
doing well.
Okay.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be in existence.
Okay. So you
And the tax is graduated. It's not much. Although I'm not holding forth for Plateau Inland Revenue Service, it's not much. I mean, for goodness sake, pay your tax.
I think the problem, the tax problem thing is, or the problem people have with paying tax, I think there's just this mindset of us against government. Government is cheating us and wanting to reap where they didn't sow.
But you know, it's our duty to pay tax.
Yes.
It's our duty to pay tax because government gave us permission to run business. You didn't run it in the vacuum. And what the tax authorities can help you do is that they help you get known. You see,
how do they do that?
If you are qualified for a loan, they will ask you for your tax clearance certificate. Are you going to lie when you haven't been paying your tax?
Okay, yeah, that's.
If your employees are engaged, they're supposed to be paying as you earn. This helps them get known. One day they will need a tax clearance certificate too. But beyond even pay as you earn, it helps you access other services, maybe like pension administration and all of that as your business begins to grow. But I think we've gone away from funding. We're just saying that, look, now that I have funding, what should I do? Act.
Okay.
Begin to work. Begin to turn money. And as money comes, begin to pay your tax. Did I also say that you should pay your tithe? I hope I say so. Your business should tithe. That is how the church will know that you are doing well.
Okay. But the tithe is from your profit.
It's from your profit. It's from your profit.
Not from your capital.
No, it's from your profit.
Okay.
So we have a duty to be very rigorous with our costing. That way God is happy. And when you tithe, and God will be blessing the business in ways that you cannot say. You cannot say.
So to arrive at that profit thing, what to pay for tax, what to do for tithe, you must keep good records.
You must keep good records. So whatever you net, you know that now you pay a tithe on that one. And I can testify. God will bless you. God will bless you. Plenty.
I'm just seeing that all this needs a lot of discipline, but in reality, everything really about Christian work has a lot of discipline in it. So if you really want to do well in business, you want to do proper things with funding, get the right funding, you just need to be very disciplined, organized,
and circumspect.
Yes, in what you are doing. So you can't just be careless and doing what you want to do. Okay, we'll be going on break now. Viewers, this is very serious discussion that one really needs to let sink in and think about it. So when we come back from our break, we'll put up our phone lines and you can call in to contribute to this conversation or to ask questions. And you can also go to our Facebook page and post your comments or questions and we would answer. So we'll go on break and then we'll come back. Remember, we've been talking about funding your business. Funding your business.
Equa TV Africa keeps you lifted 24/7. Fixes your day and makes it fulfilled with messages of hope and salvation.
Sin and the devil, they always work hand in hand together.
Christ too and the ministry of the Lord also will be promoted. This aspect of David's experience we read in our passage of consideration brings this situation very near to ours.
Majestic in holiness. Praise the Lord.
Groundbreaking shows for every life situation.
Parents don't tell lies because that's always a problem.
But in the north, we have abandoned education.
If you ask me to do anything for Nigeria, please equip me.
It feels great being on never-ending platform.
Heaven gifted songs to lift your spirit up, pull you out of worry, fear, sadness, and even depression. Keep watching Equa TV Africa. Follow us on all our social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the notification button to keep up with our activities.
Welcome back, viewers, from our break. We're right here at the living room on Equa TV talking about funding your business, and a lot of serious issues have been brought up here that we need to really think about before we venture into the business. But we've been encouraged that it's doable. It's doable, but it needs a lot of work. So I've been here with Professor Teresa Madu, who has been giving us so much information on what we need to do. Our phone lines are coming up on the screen so that you could call in to contribute to this conversation, and you could also go to our Facebook page to post your comments and your questions, and we'll try as much as possible to respond to questions that need to be responded to. While the break was going on, Professor Madu said something that if you don't do your business well, you pay for it sooner or later. That business does not cover people. You pay for it. So, Auntie, please explain, because sometimes somebody was also saying that, one of the crew was also saying that some of us take loans and we run away with the loans.
When God designed business, He designed business to be done ethically, correctly. Scripture tells us that there must be a right measure, right weights. So when you come to business, we're just mirroring what the Bible has said. You don't cut corners.
Okay, we have a call coming in from Lagos. Okay, we're all ears. Okay, we've lost the call.
So you don't cut corners. If this is what it takes to deliver this loaf of bread, you must honestly put what it takes to deliver this loaf of bread. If you've put certain quantities and say, this is what is in this.
Okay, Lagos guy, Peter, right? Yes, he's back. Okay, Peter. Peter, yeah. we're listening.
Okay, please, I must come. I appreciate you for the program you people are putting up. Very, very interesting and inspiring, helping us in our business.
Thank you, Peter.
I want to ask Prof. Like somebody that's owing, have a lot of debt upon him in the business. How easily is person to pay tithe, to be faithful in paying tithe, because a lot of debt. Any gain you are doing, you are trying to settle this, you are trying to settle debt. So how faithful is this person to be paying tithe? That's number one. Number two, talking about tax, paying tax to the government. Anything you buy now has tax, VAT. Automatically, VAT stands for value added tax. So after all this tax, online, buying, like that, if you buy provision, it will include tax. So how did you government want to prove that people are not paying tax?
Okay, thank you so much, Peter. So, Auntie, over to you. But I just want to say before you start answering that, owing many people doesn't start in a day.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a build up over time, and means that you've been doing something wrong. Okay.
And Peter, thank you for your question. But you see that question reflects a poor management of personal finance before it ran into your business finance. If we run finances poorly as individuals, we are likely to carry it over into businesses. So I hope I'm allowed to prescribe. What I would like for you to do is to set a target by when to liquidate these personal loans that you have. Because if you don't liquidate those personal loans, people do not have confidence in you. It begins to affect your integrity as a person.
And once you have integrity issues, it's difficult to do business, really.
But also, when you were planning to take a loan for the business, you also had a repayment plan.
You should have had a
or you should have had a repayment plan. And in that repayment plan, it was supposed to be in such a way that as you are paying back the loan, you are still being allowed to operate your business until you have finally liquidated the
loan.
Does this mean you are not making a profit? It's not true. You are. The only thing is that for the loan, you are paying back with interest, which is also part of the cost of doing business. After this, there will still be a net. And I don't intend to be Pentecostal to challenge you, but I challenge you to make a repayment plan and see cost your profit month by month and give God his tithe and see whether that your loan will not eventually be liquidated. I want you to prove God. It's God who says you should prove him, not me. So yeah, there will be those times that you do take a loan, but you do have the time within which it will be liquidated. And your repayment plan should have captured how you can comfortably pay this loan while you continue to run your business. So you would have those profit margin no matter what, and you have to tithe on it. Even if it is 1 naira, you need to tithe on it. Yes. We've not even finished with this one.
Come back down. Nehemiah from Taraba. Okay. Is the tax issue we're waiting for.
I was going to it.
Okay, let Nehemiah finish. Maybe he'll ask something around it. Okay, Nehemiah, we're waiting.
Okay, hello.
Hello, Nehemiah.
Hello.
Hello, Nehemiah.
Yes, Ma. We knew the Bible said 1 out of 10 is for God.
Yes.
1 out of 10 is for God.
Yes.
Then, assuming I'm a farmer. And the farming I collected too much of loan. Then when harvesting, then when harvesting, I have to clear the loan that I collected before remitting one of God. Related to God. Then if I didn't remitted the loan and I carried the whole thing, or can I say 1 out of 10 for God?
Nehemiah, shall I assume that the loan was part of the cost of producing the yams, right? Maybe the loan was to buy fertilizer, pay people for that. So it's part of the cost of producing the yam, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now that you have the yam, you take out the cost of production before you know what is profit, isn't it? It is not the whole that you tithe on. It is the profit. It is the profit. It is the net.
So you have to remove your cost of production, return all those ones, and then your profit is now what you
is what you tithe on.
I hope that's answered his question.
So let's go back to the VAT before another question.
Go to the VAT before.
People keep saying, "Oh, value added, value added." That is government tax on things that other people are producing. What of what you are producing? Where is the tax? So, yeah, you buy Bonvita, it is not part of what you are using.
You are producing.
But you know that there are exemptions on other things, like particularly in agriculture, there are exemptions because the input you are using is what you use to now produce. So you still don't have any excuse. You must pay government their profits.
And
the tax on
God has
profits.
told us to pay taxes. Scripture is clear about that.
And let me say that we are not good at paying taxes. We are very evasive. We are very evasive. Even government civil servants, if government was not taking it at source, we will not voluntarily pay tax. We will not declare.
Everywhere people evade tax, even in developed countries. It's just that government has put things in place to make sure you pay. If you don't pay, you go to jail.
And the tax in Nigeria is still very low compared to countries like Rwanda. You know, like for us salaries, our tax is not more than 5%. But in countries like Rwanda, it's as much as 45%.
Wow.
They're paying you a lot, but they're taxing you a lot.
So that's like half your salary.
Almost half your salary.
Okay. So we need to. Okay, Joseph.
Joseph from Benue.
It's okay.
Okay, Joseph.
Yes.
We're listening. Yeah.
The issue of tax. Yes. The issue of taxation, as you have just mentioned, we have seen that in the country here, pay taxes just everywhere. So this issue of tax, can you explain to us how can we pay tax? Besides, when you are moving your goods on the road, there are people to stop you, collect what they can collect. Police are collecting their own on the road. Everywhere you go, they collect. Young people will come to your shop, knock at you and say, "No, you are going to pay," all of that. So which one is actually tax?
Actually,
everywhere you pass.
I myself.
What exactly? Who should we pay to? And all these ones, police collect from us on the road. Is it tax? So
actually, one of the things about Nigeria that is even complex to outsiders to understand is several levels of multiple, I don't want to call it taxes, I want to call it levies.
Yeah,
because
more of levies.
The levies are not even going to government. Like, I'm very familiar with the fact that you are bringing a busload of cabbages to building material, and then you have these people who are wearing white and green. They have a line with the wood with all kinds of nails, and they want you to pay a levy just because you are carrying produce. And those people are there because the bigger authorities have not regulated that they shouldn't be doing that. Then you get to the market and there are other levies. I'm not calling those things taxes, I'm calling them levies. But honest, if you operate in that kind of business, then you must consider it as part of doing business.
So that should factor in your costs.
Part of your costs. It's part of your cost of doing business. You have to put all the levies, because without paying the levies, you can't get into the market.
Okay. Now, so for him now, where should he pay his tax? Who are the real tax people?
The real tax people are the government people, not these people paying, collecting levies.
So where do you find them? Do the government people come to you, or you go to them?
They come to you. Once you have a signboard, or even when you don't, once you want to register, they catch you. And there are several benefits you need whenever you are registered. You either need tax clearance, you want to do a consultancy, they ask you to show your tax clearance to show that you have been paying your tax. So there are benefits apart from the infrastructure that government is supposed to provide
to support you.
But best of all, you have a clear conscience.
Yeah, I think that's most important. And I think when we do those things that we're supposed to do, pay taxes and all that, you also put yourself in a position where God can help you and do beyond what you think or imagine, as scripture says. But if we are doing what is wrong, we are not doing what he has laid down you should do, then I think kind of close the heavens over you.
Actually, we don't have a moral right to be telling the government that you are not doing this, you are not doing this, when we also have not done our part. You know, I hear government, government has not done this, I'm not holding forth for government, but I'm not, like, we don't have a moral right when we haven't done our own part too.
Okay, so we need to pay our taxes and do the needful.
One other source of funding that we didn't talk about, customer-funded businesses. Like sometimes customers agree to pay you 1 or 2 weeks before you are able to give them
the service
the product.
or the good.
So can you see that small window of 1 week or 2 weeks, they've given you a loan in advance and you have a pledge to give them the products in that 1 week or 2 weeks. That's another way of funding your business effortlessly.
Okay, interesting. Okay, before the calls came in, we were talking about ethics, making sure things are done right. So,
for everything that you do, there's a right way to do it. But I don't know why we begin to think that if I do it the wrong way, it will be cheaper, or it will be better, or it will be smarter. Faster. No. The best way to learn how to do something is to do it continuously in such a way that your experience helps you do this thing more efficiently than if you didn't. But to be cutting corners, eventually you suffer the consequences. Like I keep telling people, that business was never designed to be carried out unethically. Never. And it will pay you. It will pay you by punishing you now or later.
Okay.
Or both.
So what are areas? Maybe we give specific examples so that people don't say, oh, she said we should do it ethically, but I'm not guilty. Meanwhile, truly, the people are doing unethical things.
For example, one of the things that I think we do is to bribe.
Okay.
Almost everybody is doing it. Why won't I do it?
But okay, this bribe thing, how can somebody run a business? Because in this country without bribe, because it seems to now have been institutionalized. Everybody says, look, you can't do anything in Nigeria if you are not giving bribe. It won't work. So, but you have done a business, or you are doing a business, so.
I guess my business might not be
the best
to list the example, because you can do almost anything in my line of business without bribing anybody at all. You take your money, you buy your supplies, your customers don't have to bribe you to pay and all that. So mine would not be a good one. The businesses that will probably have a challenge would be businesses that would have to do with regulatory things. You have to have a NAFDAC number, an SON number. I was talking to a protege just last week, and SON had tried to clamp him down, and he had read the restrictions and the permissions that he was given. So he and a few people took SON on and say, you do not have a right to regulate this kind of thing. It is DPR that has the right to regulate this. And they won. And
because
they didn't bribe.
They knew what they needed to know.
So you need to know about your business and the regulations, who is the regulatory authority over you, and why you must also obey it. The general rule is that if these are what the regulations are, you need to operate a notch higher than even those regulations so that you are not found wanting.
Okay, so what you're saying is that it's possible to run a business ethically in this country without doing bribe or anything. But I think sometimes it may cost you. You may suffer something.
But you know, there's joy in suffering if you know that what you have done is right.
That was a quite theme a few years back. Okay.
There's joy in suffering if you know that you have done what is right. You simply didn't bribe. I talked to a young lady today. She didn't carry her driver's license in Abuja, and she parked in the wrong spot. So AMAC took her. And AMAC can be merciless. But the officials are even worse, because even after they have arrested you, they are trying to get you to bribe them all the way to the station. So when you refuse, they go and dock you there and hope that you will pay more. For the 5,000 you didn't give them, you go and pay 10,000. So I told her, I said, just go ahead and pay your 10,000.
Yeah.
Because number one, you violated the law.
You broke the law.
But two, you didn't go and bribe them. And they do it to smack you, you know. But if we hadn't broken the law to start with, we won't be in their hands.
So one of the things to help us is to make sure that you do things, as you said,
Be
do a notch.
of the law, yeah. Do a notch higher. If they say this is the certification, go a notch higher.
So they can't find you wanting. Okay. So viewers, just to encourage us, it is possible to do business ethically. You don't have to bribe. That's one of the things she said. Then I think other ethical issues is to give your customers quality for their money. Don't cheat people.
And treat your employees right.
Yeah.
Treat people who work for you. Treat them as though they work for God. And indeed they do. They don't work for you, they work for God.
So treat them right would include paying them their salaries, their correct salaries. Because I've seen that especially some small businesses, they keep changing wages. In the middle of the month, they're like, this month we're not paying you this. This month we're not paying, we can't do this, we can't do that. And sometimes the workers are so frustrated. So I think you should pay your workers their due wages and pay on time.
Because they're actually in a bad situation.
Yeah. You shouldn't hold people's salary for 2, 3, 4 months so that they can't walk away from you.
Not even for 2 days. Scripture says so. Don't. The laborer is depending on that pay. Treat your workers right.
So, ethical issues, don't do bribe, follow government regulations.
Treat your employees
right. Pay them on time. Pay. Pay. Because I've had so many employees complain, about how their workers treat them, how their employers treat them, how they won't pay them salaries for some months, how because of a certain infraction they're angry with you, they don't pay you for 2 months as punishment until they feel you're loyal enough, then they pay you, or some ridiculous things that people do.
I'm sure somebody is watching us out there and say, but my driver, does he qualify?
Yes.
He qualifies. Your driver qualifies to be paid well and to be treated decently. Remember, your life depends on that driver.
When you talk about treating workers decently, what do you mean?
Like,
maybe using drivers as an example.
Like in my field, we have what we call a living wage. If this person needs this amount of money to be sustained, if your business needs these people to be able to be profitable, can your business pay them the kind of wage that takes them to the market and buys what we call a basket of goods? Well, you need to consider that. Are they disadvantaged in terms of housing? Can you provide housing so that it lessens the problems of accommodation? It's just simply being human. People say, human resources is a higher law. It's not a higher law. If you were in that disadvantaged position, how would you like to be treated?
Yeah.
So it's good to do comparable wages all the time. What are the comparable wages? So that you are not paying below comparable wages.
So, I've had a situation where I had somebody who comes clean for me and all that, and I asked her what she wanted to be paid, and she told me what she wanted to be paid, and I said, fine, we'll pay that. My husband was away. When he came back, he said, what's that? That salary is too small. I said, but that's what she asked for. He said, no, that she asked for something does not mean that you should do what she says, that this is not a just wage. You need to
and she'll end up pinching your things.
Okay. So viewers, today they've asked us to wrap up. We've talked about funding your business venture, and Professor Madu has gone all out to tell us what we even need to do before we start looking for funding. Make sure you document, make sure you cost what you need to run this business so that you know what you're looking for, and then how to get this funding, and then how to run with it when we get the funding, making sure that you're running a business that is ethical, that glorifies God. Because if you do things right, you'll get the blessings. If you do things wrong, as she says, you'll be punished now
or later,
or both. Some punishment is coming your way. That business is meant to be run ethically. It's not meant to be done anyhow. So thank you so much. And I hope viewers, after today, we'll be hearing testimonies of how we've been able to fund our businesses, and our businesses have started running.
And you have gotten out of debt.
Yes, so you've gotten out of debt. But you also need to, maybe next time we need to talk about how to live in such a way that you are debt free. You know, live in a way. And then remember, your businesses can start small. You don't have to start with a bang, as they say. So let's start small and multiply, as she told us, so that we can get to where we're supposed to be. So thank you so much for being with us. We're looking out for your comments on our Facebook page, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. Professor Feriza Amadu, thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge, experience that you've brought to this discussion. God bless you big time.
Amen. Thank you.
So viewers, let's go out there, run our business, run it in a way that honors and glorifies God. Let's do our good work in such a way that people will see this good work and glorify God.
Amen.
Let us not run businesses that bring disrepute to the name of the Lord, but let us run it in such a way that God is honored, people are blessed, we're solving problems and adding value to the system. God bless you. Till we see you again next week.